My niece moved in with us after her parents died. Now my wife says I have to kick her out, or she'll leave me. I'm a 39-year-old man. My wife, Claire, is 36. We've been married for almost 9 years. No kids. Both working full-time jobs. I'm a high school teacher. She's a corporate lawyer. We used to have a routine. Quiet evenings, weekend getaways, structured life. That changed 7 months ago, when my sister and her husband died in a car crash and left behind their daughter, Mia. She's 17. I was listed as Mia's legal guardian in their will. No one in the family argued. My parents are too old. Her dad's side wanted nothing to do with it. Claire didn't say much when I told her, just nodded and asked when she was moving in. At first I thought that meant she was okay with it. Now I realize it probably meant she was suppressing everything she didn't want to say. Mia moved in a week after the funeral. She was quiet, polite, a bit withdrawn. She didn't cry much, just stayed in her room, headphones on, always sketching in this little black notebook. I never pushed. I figured she'd open up in time. She never really did. Not to Claire anyway. And maybe that's where it all started. Claire's never been maternal. She told me on our third date she didn't want kids, and I said that was fine with me. I was never one of those guys dreaming about fatherhood. But Mia didn't feel like a child. She felt like family. My sister's daughter. I held her when she was a baby. We used to go camping every summer. I watched her grow up. She called me Uncle Dan, and she'd laugh like crazy when I'd lift her onto my shoulders at the beach. Taking her in didn't feel like a choice. It felt like a continuation of everything I promised my sister I'd be. But Claire didn't see it that way. At first, she was civil, polite. She'd leave dinner on the stove if she had a late meeting. She'd ask me about school, her friends, but it was all surface level, cold. After a few weeks, she stopped asking anything at all. Then came the little things. Doors slammed a bit too hard. Forgotten. Chores. Dinner leftovers disappearing without warning. Towels vanishing from the bathroom. Mia kept to herself, never raised her voice, but I could feel the atmosphere thickening every time the three of us were in the same room. One night, I came home from work and found Claire in the living room, wine glass half empty, staring at the wall. She used my skincare, she said. I blinked. What? She went into my bathroom, opened my cabinet, and used my stuff. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't seen Mia do it. Maybe she had. Maybe she hadn't. But I knew that tone in Claire's voice. It wasn't about skincare. I'll talk to her, I said. You don't see it, do you? I frowned. See what? She's taking over everything. The space, the attention, you. I thought she was exaggerating. I told her Mia was grieving, that she needed time to adjust, that she wasn't trying to push Claire out. Claire didn't argue. She just nodded and walked away. Weeks passed, then months. The distance between them grew into a canyon. I tried to bridge it. Movie nights, dinner out, even suggested we take a short trip. Just Claire and me. She said she was too tired, that her firm was demanding, that she didn't have the energy for a fake weekend getaway. Then, 2 weeks ago, everything cracked. I came home and found Claire in the kitchen, suitcase beside her. Mia was at a friend's for a group project. I knew something was wrong the moment I saw Claire's face. I can't do this anymore, she said. My stomach dropped. You need to choose, Dan. Either she goes, or I do. I thought I'd misheard. I asked her what she meant. She repeated it, slower this time. Either Mia moves out, or she's leaving me. I asked her if she was serious, if she really expected me to kick out a 17-year-old girl, who just lost both her parents, who had nowhere else to go. She's not your daughter, Claire said. She's not your responsibility. But she was. Maybe not biologically, but emotionally, legally, morally, she was mine. I told Claire I couldn't do that, that I wouldn't. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just picked up her suitcase, kissed me on the cheek, and walked out. Mia came home an hour later. I lied. I told her Claire had to go stay with her sister for a while. Now it's been 15 days. Claire hasn't called. I haven't reached out either. Mia hasn't asked questions. She's still quiet, still drawing in that notebook. But she watches me now, like she's waiting for me to break, or disappear, like everyone else in her life. And the truth is, I don't know what to do. I love my wife, but I made a promise to my sister, to Mia, maybe even to myself. Still, part of me wonders, am I choosing right, or am I losing everything trying to save someone already broken? The night after Claire left, I barely slept. I lay in bed listening to the silence, the kind that creeps into your chest and expands like fog. I expected Mia to knock on the door, to ask something, anything, but she didn't. In the morning, when I came out, she was already at the kitchen table, cereal half eaten, drawing in that notebook again like it was her oxygen mask. I made coffee and sat across from her. You okay? I asked. She nodded without looking up. Yeah. Anything you want to talk about? No. I didn't press. I figured she knew. Or maybe she didn't. Claire didn't make a scene. She didn't scream or throw things. Her exit was surgical. And yet, somehow, it still felt like the whole house had been cracked open. That weekend, I cleaned the bedroom she'd left. Her closet was half empty. Bathroom shelves cleared out. A few books missing from the nightstand. But most of her things were still there. Like she hadn't decided yet whether this was a break or the end. Monday morning, I got a text from her. I need space. Please don't contact me. No punctuation. Just a flat, gray message on my screen. I stared at it for 10 minutes before deleting it. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't look at it without feeling like someone had shoved a knife behind my ribs. Mia never brought her up. Not once. But that night, I found a page torn from her sketchbook on the kitchen counter. It was a drawing of our living room. 3 people on the couch. One of them had no face. The other 2 sat apart, hands folded, looking straight ahead. I don't know if she meant it as a message. Maybe it was just something she had to get out of her head. But it landed harder than anything she could have said. I started noticing more things after that. How Mia left the bathroom light on like Claire used to. How she avoided Claire's side of the couch. How she hesitated every time she opened the fridge, like she was waiting to be scolded. She didn't feel safe here. Not entirely. And no matter how much I wanted to protect her, I couldn't pretend she wasn't walking on eggshells. One afternoon, I came home from work earlier than usual. Her door was cracked. I knocked and peeked in. She was curled up on her bed, hoodie pulled over her head, notebook in her lap. "You hungry?" I asked. She shrugged. I sat at the edge of the bed. "Can I see what you're drawing?" She hesitated, then handed me the notebook. The first few pages were sketches of buildings, plants, animals. But then came the portraits. Dozens of them, all of Claire. Some smiling, some turned away, some half erased. I flipped through slowly, not saying a word. "She hated me," Mia said, voice flat. "She didn't," I said softly. "She did. It's okay. I'm not mad." I closed the notebook. "She didn't know how to be around you. That's not the same as hate. She left. She left me, Mia, not you. She left because of me." I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but the truth was tangled. And sometimes, silence is worse than the wrong words. I put a hand on her shoulder. She didn't flinch, but she didn't lean in either. "She left because she couldn't handle what we became," I said. "Not who you are." "Same thing." "No. Not even close." We sat there for a while. No words. Just the hum of traffic outside, the ticking clock, the weight of 2 people trying to figure out how to keep living in a house where someone disappeared without slamming the door. That night, I found Claire's wedding ring on the kitchen counter. Mia had placed it there. I don't know when or why, but I stared at it for a long time, unsure if it meant goodbye or an invitation to finally let go. A few days after I found the ring on the counter, I put it in a drawer, not because I was ready to move on, but because looking at it made it impossible to breathe. Every time I passed that spot on the counter, it felt like Claire was still there somehow, not in body, but in accusation, like the house itself was holding a grudge. Mia noticed. She didn't say anything, but I caught her glancing at that drawer a few times, like she was waiting to see if I'd put something else in there, maybe myself. On Thursday evening, after dinner, I asked her if she wanted to go for a drive. She blinked, surprised, then nodded. I took her to the beach. It was cold, almost empty. We didn't say much, just walked along the shore, her hood pulled tight over her head, hands in her pockets. "I used to come here with my mom," she said quietly. "We'd sit by the rocks and talk about nothing." I waited. "She used to say the ocean could take everything if you let it. Sadness, anger, fear, like it just sucks it out of you." "Is it working?" I asked. She shrugged. "Don't know yet." We sat by the rocks for a while. The sky was this deep indigo, the kind that makes you feel both very small and very safe, like you could vanish and no one would notice, but also like you're part of something huge and ancient. "I miss her voice," Mia said. I didn't know what to say, so I said the only thing that felt real. "Me too." We drove home in silence, but something had shifted. The air was lighter. She left her door open that night. Not wide, just enough. I saw the crack from the hallway when I went to bed, and it stayed open all night. 2 days later, I got a text from Claire's sister, Emily. "She's staying with me. She's okay. Just thought you should know." I stared at the message. No invitation to call, no request for a meeting, just a status report. Claire hadn't changed her mind, hadn't asked for me. She'd just made her location known, like a ghost briefly making itself visible before fading again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch, watching an old movie on mute, drinking tea that had gone cold hours earlier. Mia came out around midnight. She sat beside me without a word, pulling her knees up to her chest. After a few minutes, she said, You think she's coming back? I don't know. Do you want her to? I looked at her. The kind of look that says everything words can't. Because the truth was, yes. But not if it meant losing Mia. Not if it meant undoing what little healing had begun. I want peace, I said. Whatever that looks like. She nodded. Same. The next day, I found a new sketch on the counter. Just one this time. It was the beach. 2 figures sitting on rocks. No faces. Just silhouettes. One had a hand on the other's shoulder. I didn't ask if it was us. I already knew. The following week blurred into a strange new rhythm. I'd get up, make coffee, leave for school. Mia would be up by the time I came back, earbuds in, always drawing, or doing schoolwork. We'd have dinner together most nights, quiet, but not tense. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It felt like rest, like we'd both finally stopped holding our breath. Then Claire came back. I got home on a Wednesday and found her in the kitchen, just standing there. She didn't have a suitcase, just her purse slung over her shoulder, keys in her hand like she might bolt at any moment. "Hi," she said. I froze. I hadn't seen her in nearly a month. She looked thinner, paler. Her hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I still have a key," she added. "I didn't change the locks," I said. She nodded. "Is Mia home?" "No. She's at her art class." We stood in silence. "I needed to see the house again," Claire said, voice low. "I needed to see if I felt like I belonged here anymore." And she looked around. Her eyes landed on the drawer, the one with the ring, then on the dining table, where Mia had left a pencil and her sketchbook open to a half-finished drawing of a bird in flight. "I don't know," she said. "Everything feels different." "It is." She nodded again. "You look tired." "I am." She looked like she might cry, but she didn't. Instead, she pulled out a chair and sat down. "I went to therapy," she said. I blinked. That I didn't expect. "Twice a week. Since I left, I've been talking about everything. My parents, my fear of not being in control, my resentment of you for choosing something I never agreed to. You didn't give me much time to ask." "No," she admitted. "I didn't." I panicked. I thought Mia was going to ruin everything, that she'd take you away from me. She never tried to do that. "I know," Claire said. "Now I do." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. "I wrote her a letter. I don't know if she'll want to read it. I'm not asking you to give it to her. I'm just leaving it here." She placed it on the table, then stood up. "I'm not coming back," she said. "Not in the way you probably hoped. But I'm not disappearing either. I want to figure out who I am outside of this house. Outside of us. I don't hate you. I don't hate her. But I can't pretend I'm ready to live with either of you again." I nodded. "I don't hate you either." Claire looked at me for a long time. "You're a better man than I ever gave you credit for." And just like that, she left. No drama. No yelling. Just quiet honesty. Mia came home an hour later. I handed her the envelope. She didn't open it right away. She sat with it in her lap, turning it over in her fingers. Finally, she asked, "Did she say she hated me?" "No." "Did she say sorry?" "She said a lot of things. But yeah, that too." Mia didn't say anything else. She took the envelope and went to her room. Later that night, I passed by her door. It was open. She was asleep. The letter on her nightstand, unfolded. "Read." I didn't ask what it said. I just turned off the hallway light and let her rest. After that day, things shifted. Not in some dramatic, movie-like way, but in the subtle, heavy way real life does. Claire didn't come back to live with us. She didn't ask for reconciliation, but she started sending short texts, updates, therapist appointments, thoughts, not to rekindle what we had, but maybe to honor it in some quieter form. Mia never mentioned the letter again, but I noticed she stopped drawing Claire's face. The portraits vanished from her sketchbook, replaced by landscapes, animals, sometimes a messy page of abstract shapes when her emotions were clearly too loud to put into words. One Sunday afternoon, we were sitting in the living room. She was drawing, I was grading papers, and she said, without looking up, "Do you think she really meant it?" "What part?" "That she doesn't hate me." I set my pen down. "Yes, I think she meant it. It doesn't change anything." "Maybe not. But maybe it's a start." She didn't respond, just nodded slowly, eyes still on the page. She was sketching a tree, one half in bloom, the other dead and withered. I didn't ask. The next big shift happened in March. Her school hosted a parent-guardian night for the upcoming graduation season. Mia hadn't brought it up. I found the flyer crumpled in her backpack while looking for her laptop charger. I waited until after dinner. "Why didn't you tell me about the school thing?" "Didn't think it mattered." "It matters to me." She shrugged. "You don't have to come. It's not a big deal. But I want to." That night, we sat in the school auditorium, surrounded by other parents and guardians. She didn't look at me once during the speeches. But at the end, when they asked each student to stand with their accompanying adult for a group photo, she slipped her arm through mine and said, quietly, Thanks for showing up. 3 words. But they hit harder than any long speech. A week later, I got a call from Claire. She was calm, her voice steady. I wanted to tell you something before you hear it from someone else, she said. My stomach clenched. Okay, I'm seeing someone. It's new. Nothing serious. I just thought you deserved to know. Thanks for telling me. Silence. Then, are you okay? I paused. Yeah, I think so, she exhaled. I know we didn't work, but I still hope you find peace. Both of you. Same to you. We hung up. I sat there in the kitchen for a long time, letting the quiet sink in. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. Not because I didn't care, but because some part of me had already made peace with her leaving. That night, I told Mia. She didn't say much, just raised an eyebrow and said, "Hey." Then she went back to her homework. Later, though, I found a new sketch on the fridge. It was of a man and a girl sitting on a park bench, both reading books. The girl had her head on the man's shoulder. No labels, no names. But I knew. That drawing stayed on the fridge for months. Even now, I still glance at it when I pour my coffee in the morning. Not because I need a reminder, but because it tells me that maybe, just maybe, we're both going to be okay. Spring turned into early summer, and with it came a new kind of normal. Mia was finishing her final year of high school, and college acceptance letters started arriving one by one. She was accepted at 3, waitlisted at 1, and rejected by another, but it was the acceptance from the art school in Portland that made her eyes light up. They liked my portfolio, she said, almost disbelieving. They liked my weird birds and faceless people. I laughed. They saw what I've seen for months. She smiled but quickly hid it behind her cup of tea. She still didn't let emotions pour out easily, but I had started to see the cracks. The good kind. Cracks that let the light through. One Saturday morning, I found her cleaning out her closet. She had 3 piles: keep, toss, and donate. I watched from the doorway. Big plans. If I'm moving, I don't want to drag all this crap with me. My chest tightened. So, you're really going? I think so. If I can get enough scholarships to cover it, and maybe a part-time job, we'll figure it out. She paused. You'd be okay with that? With what? Me leaving? You living here alone? I stepped into the room. Mia, this was always temporary. I didn't take you in because I wanted to keep you here forever. I did it because you needed a home when everything collapsed. If you're ready to fly, I'm not going to clip your wings. She didn't cry, but her eyes turned glassy, and she looked away fast. I pretended not to notice. That's how we worked. The day she got the scholarship letter, she screamed. Actually screamed. I was in the garage fixing a shelf when she burst in holding the envelope like it was on fire. Full tuition, she panted. They're covering everything. I'm going to Portland. I dropped the screwdriver and pulled her into a hug. This time, she didn't hold back. She hugged me tight, arms locked around my middle, head pressed into my chest like she needed to memorize my heartbeat. We stayed like that a while. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. A week later, Claire called again. I heard Mia got into that school. That's amazing. Yeah, she's over the moon. Can I send her a card? Maybe a little gift. I hesitated. That's up to her. Right. Of course. She paused. You sound good, Dan. I'm getting there. I'm glad. We hung up with less weight this time. No lingering sadness. Just two people who had once loved each other and were learning how to love other things now. Graduation day came fast. I wore a suit. Mia wore a navy gown and boots under her dress. I'm not doing heels, she'd said. They're stupid. When her name was called, she looked out over the crowd and found me. I stood and clapped, probably louder than anyone else. After the ceremony, she found me near the parking lot. You're embarrassing, you know that. It's part of the job. She pulled something from her bag. A small, flat box wrapped in brown paper. What's this? Open it when you're home. I waited until later that night. Inside the box was a framed drawing. It was us, at the beach, sitting on rocks. Her head on my shoulder. Our faces were there this time. Mine had a soft smile. Hers looked calm. Whole. On the back, she'd written in pencil, "Thanks for choosing me." I stared at that for a long time. The weight of it, the quiet gratitude tucked inside a drawing. I didn't cry, but my chest ached in that way where joy and grief are so tangled you can't tell which is which. That summer, we prepared for her move. Boxes filled the hallway. She sorted through old sketches, keeping some, tossing others. I helped her find an apartment close to campus. She wanted to live alone, said she needed to learn how to hear her own voice, without the echo of someone else's house. I got it. Completely. On moving day, we packed the last of her things into the car. She stood by the driver's seat for a minute, keys in hand. You okay? I asked. She nodded. I'm scared. But I'm good scared. Good. Are you gonna be lonely? Probably. You'll be okay though. I think I will. She pulled me into one last hug. This one felt different, like a ribbon being tied, not a knot being pulled. Don't be a stranger, I said. Never. And just like that, She drove off. No dramatic music, no tears in the rain, just the quiet sound of someone finally moving forward. I walked back into the empty house and sat on the couch. The fridge still had the drawing on it, the one of the park bench. I didn't take it down. I don't think I ever will. The first few weeks after Mia left, the house felt unnaturally still, not just quiet, empty. Her mug was gone from the dish rack. Her sketchbooks no longer cluttered the coffee table. The hum of her music through the walls, the smell of acrylic paint, the soft creaks of her footsteps, vanished. For the first time in over a year, it was just me. At first, I tried to fill the space. I rearranged furniture, took on extra hours at school, started running in the mornings again. But no matter how fast I ran, every time I came back, the silence was waiting at the door like a loyal pet. One evening, about 3 weeks after her departure, I got a letter, handwritten, no return address, but I knew the handwriting before I even opened it. It was from Mia. Dan, I wasn't sure if I'd ever send this, but I'm sitting in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes and half-eaten pizza, and I realized something. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. I used to think people like you didn't exist, people who take care of others without expecting anything back. I kept waiting for you to flip, to give up on me, to say I was too much. But you never did. You're the first person who ever made me feel safe without asking me to become someone else to earn it. I know I was angry, distant, hard to reach, but I saw everything. Every dinner you made, every time you knocked before entering my room, every stupid dad joke you told to make me smile. I saw it. I don't think I ever said thank you the way I should have. So here it is. Thank you for giving me back pieces of myself I didn't know were missing. I still draw you, sometimes. I'm not sure if that's weird, but you're in my sketches. Usually as a tree. I don't know why. Maybe because you were steady, always rooted, something I could lean on. Anyway, I hope the house feels okay without me. I hope you keep drinking bad coffee and watching old movies with the volume too low. And I hope, someday, you find someone who sees you the way I did, when I finally had the courage to look. Love, and I mean it this time, Mia. I read it twice, then again. Then I set it on the kitchen counter, right where Claire's ring had once been. This felt like the right kind of full circle. Later that night, Claire called. Not to talk about us, just to check in. She said Emily was doing well, that she'd found a part-time job teaching yoga at a studio. She didn't ask if I was seeing anyone. I didn't ask either. There was no need. We were no longer pages in the same chapter, just footnotes in each other's history. I'm proud of her, you know, Claire said. Mia, me too. We paused. I never thought I'd say this, she continued, but thank you for staying when I left. I couldn't have done it any other way. She still draws every day. She's going to be something big. She already is. We hung up after that. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat by the window, and looked out at the quiet street. It didn't feel heavy anymore, just still. And I realized something. Maybe healing isn't loud. Maybe it's not fireworks, or breakthroughs or dramatic tears. Maybe it's just this, the sound of your own breath in a room that no longer feels haunted. A few months later, in the middle of October, I took a train to Portland to surprise Mia for her first gallery showcase. She hadn't told me about it herself. I found out through a mutual friend on Facebook who'd posted the event flyer. It wasn't like her to hide things anymore, but I figured maybe she wanted to handle it on her own terms. Or maybe she still wasn't sure if I'd show up. The gallery was a small, bright space filled with raw, beautiful energy. Most of the pieces were hers. Abstract portraits, layered textures, bursts of charcoal and ink. Her name was printed on a white card beside each one, Mia Delaney. Seeing her name framed like that, official, public, real, it did something to my chest. A tightening, a loosening, all at once. She didn't notice me right away. She was across the room, talking to a woman I didn't recognize, probably another artist. Her hair was longer now, looser. She carried herself differently, not louder, just more anchored. I waited until the crowd thinned out, then approached. She turned, saw me, and for a brief second, I saw panic flash across her face, like she thought maybe I'd come to ruin something. Then it melted. She smiled, small, hesitant, but real. You came, she said. You didn't tell me. I didn't know if you'd still want to be part of this. I always want to be part of this. We stood in front of one of her pieces together. It was a sketchy, abstract rendering of a man and a girl sitting on a bench, just like the one she'd left on the fridge. But this time, they weren't sitting still. There were motion lines, wind. The man's hand was reaching for something just out of frame, while the girl looked forward, eyes wide open. What's he reaching for? I asked. She shrugged. Maybe nothing. Maybe just balance. There was a beat of silence. You okay, Dan? Yeah, I think I am. You look tired. but better. I feel better. We didn't hug. Not right away. She just slipped her hand into mine. Briefly. A squeeze. No need for more. That tiny contact said everything. After the show, we walked to a diner, ate greasy pancakes and drank terrible coffee, talked about her professors, her roommates, her late-night painting sessions. I didn't talk much about myself. I didn't need to. She saw me. As I boarded the train the next morning, she handed me an envelope. Don't open it until you're back home. I waited until nightfall, sitting in my living room, with only the hallway light on. Inside the envelope was a new drawing, this one fully painted. Watercolor. It showed a modest house. Our house. But it was surrounded by roots growing from underneath, deep and sprawling. And above it, a canopy of stars, stretching across the sky. On the back, in her now familiar handwriting, she'd written, "You didn't save me. You gave me the ground to grow." I stared at that sentence until the ink blurred. Then I pinned it to the wall above my desk. I don't know what will happen next. Claire and I still speak sometimes. Mia and I text once a week. The house is still quiet, but not hollow. I started painting again. Just small things. Not for anyone else. Just to remember that I still can. Maybe that's what family really is. Not biology. Not permanence. Just the people who stay long enough for you to find your way out of the dark. And if I'm honest, I still don't have all the answers. But I do know one thing now. She saved me just as much as I saved her. And that's why I keep the door open. Just in case she ever wants to come home for a little while. Even if it's only to sit quietly, sip bad coffee, and say nothing at all. I don't know what to do next. But for once, that doesn't scare me. Follow me for more stories.